Sorry, sir.
Yeah, what? I didn't hear that.
Sorry, boss.
We're not filming yet.
Well, somebody turn that on and start. Oh, it's, okay, council, we'll call the meeting to order. I'll ask everybody to rise and Council Rainey to say the blessing.
We give thanks for the many blessings we enjoy in the city of Kenora. We seek wisdom in our minds, clearness in our thinking, truth in our speaking, and always love in our hearts. So we may try always to unite the citizens of Kenora. Let these principles guide us in our decision making.
Okay. As required under notice bylaw 144/2007, the public is advised the council's intention to adopt the following at today's meeting. Council intends to close a portion of 2nd Street South on Saturday, September 3rd between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. for an event. Amend the 2016 operating capital budget to apply the Hearst hydraulic funds of $15,000 to the current amount of $20,000 for purchase of personal protective equipment, PPE, and bunker suits for a total amount of $35,000. Amend 2016 operating capital budget to withdraw funds from fleet reserve in the amount of $49,764.31 plus applicable taxes to offset the cost of Greater 871 transmission replacement, and to amend the 2016 operating and capital budget to withdraw funds from the Park A reserve in the amount of $7,600 plus applicable taxes to offset the cost of repairs to the Park A. Declaration of pecuniary interest, anyone? Wow. I should say on today's agenda from the previous meeting. Okay, resolution number 1.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Raynard, that the following minutes of the Council of the City of Kenora be adopted as circulated. Regular meeting held June 14th, 2016. And your worship, I just like to make mention that I wish to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 3 traditional land, and I'd like to ask, as per Councillor Goss has suggested in the past, that we consult with the Grand Chief or an elder as to the wording, and that we mention this at the beginning of every meeting, and perhaps it could be integrated at the end of the prayer.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor, Council? Opposed?
Oh, that's all 1A.
In 1A.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Raynard, that approval be hereby given for the following additional items to be added to today's agenda. 1, Event Center discussion direction.
All in favor, Council? Opposed? Here. Okay, we have one presentation and having Dr. Kip. I understand you have a presentation for us.
Yeah.
We can cover it up here if you want.
This year is the 10th anniversary of the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. And in the decades since its passed, the Smoke-Free Ontario Act has helped Ontarians to protect them from the harmful effects of tobacco use, support more people to quit smoking, and help protect young people from becoming addicted. The Northwest Tobacco Control Area Network recently honored organizations and individuals who best embodied the spirit of the Smoke-Free Ontario Act and have made significant achievements in tobacco control in this region. The City of Kenora was nominated for our Smoke-Free Champion Award and was chosen as a recipient because of their display of leadership in the passing of a smoke-free beaches bylaw. With the most recent changes to the Smoke-Free Ontario Act in January 2015, there were changes to make smoke-free playgrounds and sports fields. Unfortunately, this did not impact smoke-free beaches. And so, using the municipal acts, the City of Kenora chose to make all beaches 100% smoke-free, regardless of whether it included playground equipment or not. This passing of the Smoke-Free Beaches bylaw in Kenora puts the health and safety of residents and makes it a clear priority. It helps quitters quit and to prevent them from restarting smoking. And it denormalizes smoking to prevent people and young children from starting to smoke. On behalf of Northwestern Health Unit, the Northwest Tobacco Control Area Network, and the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, I am pleased to present the Smoke Free Champion Awards to the City of Kenora.
Thank you. Thank you. Get over the middle here. This is why I quit years ago, I knew it was coming. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad everybody's here. We're not trying to walk this.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kit.
Thanks, Kit. Okay, so for our 1A, we are going to the event center discussion. Now, is there questions here for
I think, so as you can see, Dave is here. If council does have any questions, council at the previous meeting had requested that we get an analysis for phase-in potential for the plan and what the cost would be. So David Nelson has graciously provided council with that analysis. It was distributed a few weeks ago, and so the request was that we bring it back here for council discussion. And I think really from a staff perspective, what we want to understand is what other information does council need, if any, to help you inform your decisions, so that we can either get that information or move it forward to actual discussion at the
Councilman Glenn?
I think I would agree with Karen. My understanding when the email came out to council was that, basically the sole purpose of this discussion would be, is there any further information that council requires? Not a debate of the project, or in that context, but it's beyond what, there's been the presentation, there's been the report, the phasing information has come, and I understood whether, if there was any further information that council requires. And while I'm speaking as one councillor, I feel I have the information I require, but that's open to question by other councillors if they have any information requests.
And if I remember the breakdown, I don't have it here in front of me, I thought I had it here, it was around 19 million, Dave, 8 and 3 or something like that. The breakdown and the thing was around 19 million.
That's about right, yeah. 19, 7, 3.
Right. Councilor Rainey?
I would follow Council McMillan in the fact that I've got all the information I require. We now have phasing, and I'm prepared to go forward and have the debate whenever it's scheduled, so that we can make a decision and decide which direction we're gonna go with it. So I have everything I require.
Councilor Smith?
I guess the only other question I would ask is that, would this conversation be happening during the 2017 budget deliberations?
Probably, I'm gonna make another suggestion too, because AMO's coming up very shortly, and we do have a meeting set up with the Minister of Infrastructure. So there's questions I think that a lot of us wanted to ask too, around infrastructure funding and what they were gonna fund. My understanding, there's still no agreement signed between the federal and provincial governments, and hopefully we can get an update on where they are with that. And so it's kind of like, let's not put the cart before the horse, let's make sure that everything is slowed down, and we can take a look at, and then make decisions from there. This was part of the package, I think, Dave, I think for that was part of the package of the breakdown. The other part of the package obviously is funding and options.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. And
My impression was that we were gonna move this discussion forward. To wait until March of next year is only gonna delay and further increase the cost. I think we should be going through and making a decision whether or not this council supports the project or not. And to defer it to, my concern is if we defer it to next March, this project it'll be gone. That's my personal opinion, or my feeling.
But Councilor McMillan?
Yeah, I guess it's almost a back and forth here in respecting what Councillor Sharon has said. Again, my understanding was if there's any further questions, that be added to, and a package is being put together to bring back to council with a prioritized list of capital projects, which are infrastructure projects, of which this is infrastructure. And then we're gonna have that discussion this year, prior to the 2017 budget. And I would, well, mind you, time is running short, but I would even hope that, we could have that discussion prior to going to AMO, because I think there's a couple of pieces. No, I'm going outside the realm. I don't have any further requests for information. If I keep discussing that, I'm debating it, so I'll back off.
I think though, what Councilor Smith was looking for was basically to line our ducks up, get the information or the other information we need, and then if we can, not saying we don't make a decision till next March, till budget, but we would know what we were making the decision on, and then that would be part of the budget for 2017. And until we know what's out there for funding, we really we can't make a decision on, so I wouldn't wanna make a decision, and I'll tell you from experience, I wouldn't wanna make a decision on something that, yeah, we're gonna go ahead with this, and then we can't get funding, then all of a sudden we have to retract that decision. I mean, if we know what's out there and what the parameters of the funding are, they still haven't signed that agreement. And one of the things we've seen at FCM, and it was spoken many times, there's no agreement. And no agreement, no money. So we need that agreement, and hopefully, sometimes governments pick major events to make announcements. Maybe AMO is gonna be an announcement for an agreement. I sure hope so, because we need money for a lot of things. And I'm hoping that maybe AMO will be the time when they're gonna make it.
Yeah, staying on track with the purpose of this being on here, Your Worship, I don't think that would be any different for any project that will be on that capital list. What other pieces of infrastructure we're looking for, so it's a discussion we have to have, and that would pertain to any project the city has. So I wouldn't want to, and I don't think it's being said, I just wouldn't want to see any discussion on any of our projects being held up until we hear announcement, because there's things we got to do as a city to prepare for the eventuality of funding. So,
Councilors?
By the end of this year, we're gonna have to have phase 2 of our asset management plan completed and accepted for implementation by January the 1st, 2017. Phase 2 does not deal with core services. It deals with
You're looking for a proper word.
infrastructure
Other than flow.
that is not mandated necessarily, not mandated by the province or the federal government. Our core services are. In the presentations made regarding the event center, there was argument made that the longer we wait, the price will go up. And we're talking about a 30 million plus project here that is not necessarily mandated core services. Our phase 1 asset management plan identified a huge deficit, annual deferred deficit funding of $7.424 million, which I think at which we had to have a 10-year asset management plan to correct that. Now, $2.5 million of that $7.424 million was sewer and water. And the sewer and water total deferred funding deficit is well over $30 million, am I correct?
I don't know that number offhand.
Well, it started off at 29 and I don't think we made any headway. So let's just say $30 million. Now, do you think for 1 minute that the prices that were given to the city for the sewer and water, which I think they were based on 2010 numbers, they have gone up? And we haven't made any positive movement to try and eliminate that deficit. Secondly, when we had the asset management plan, phase one of the asset management plan, that was a huge annual deferred funding deficit. And that was based on the 2012 numbers. We haven't made a lot of headway on that. And I believe those numbers have increased. So the prices to correct those core services which we are mandated to provide are going up as well. So when I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the event center and people are saying, well, the price is only going to go up. Well, I sit back and say the price of correcting and getting into a sustainable position with our core services are also going up, based on the same consumer inflationary as the event center is going to go up, and maybe more so than the event center. Now, the second phase of our asset management plan, I'm sure it's going to indicate an annual deferred funding deficit as well. So I cannot see myself as a councillor being in a position to even start discussing anything else other than core services until the report on the phase 2 of our asset management plan is complete. Then we can sit down and let's see where the event center will fit in our long-term plan. Prices are going to go up for our core services, which we have to correct, and price is only going to get higher as well for our phase 2 asset management plan, which we will have to maintain and correct as well to comply with both of those phase 1 and phase 2 of our asset management plan. So I don't think we're in a position right now to really have a serious discussion about where the event center is going until we get the report back on phase 2 of the asset management plan and get some actual numbers. And I believe we're supposed to be getting those on our state of our water system, sewer and water system, and also what our position is for phase 1 of our asset management plan. And then I think we can have a responsible discussion where we're showing our financial responsibility to the taxpayers of Kenora. But until then, let's just wait. We have an asset management, phase 2 asset management plan that we should be getting some reports back, some preliminaries very quickly, and I'm sure we'll be getting some numbers of where that stands. Let's have the full report back and exactly where we stand with annual deferred funding deficits for the city, and I think that would be showing responsibility to property taxpayers. And we don't even know if there's funding yet we don't even know if there's going to be shared funding coming from the provincial or federal government.
Councillor Smith and then Goss, and then we'll.
I guess that's exactly what I was saying when Councillor Louis' comments is where I was coming from. Is why would we make this, have this discussion and talk about moving forward in isolation of all the other capital projects that we're going to be looking at down the road? And that's why I suggested that should happen at the same time as in our 2017 budget. I look at the casino conversation that we need to have in the community, whether we're going to get it or not, whether we will have that revenue stream. Maybe that revenue stream can be designated to social infrastructure, which is what we're talking about with the event center. But when we start looking at these capital projects, I mean, it's all about expenses and revenues, and either your revenue has to increase or your expenses have to go down. And I don't think you can have those conversations in isolation. I look at all the other projects we're looking at. We're talking about a new hospital here. I'm going to be asking the question about Is there a cost of that to the municipality? What is that cost going to be? Where does that sit in our priority list? And I suspect that is going to be a huge cost. We know we talk about the Q8 Bridge. We just did a repair job on that we didn't receive any funding for, but we know that repair job gets us 15 years. Well, we need to start planning for a replacement for that, because that job has gotta be in the millions of dollars down the road. So I think that to have that the conversation about the event center in isolation of all the other issues that we need to look at, is not something I'd be prepared to do.
Councilor Ross?
And I guess both Councillor Smith and Bruce have pointed out what I wanted to. I wasn't gonna bring that around in this conversation because we were talking something that seems to have gone a little sideways, but unless we're prepared to actually start to address our infrastructure deficit and honestly put down the 2.2% that was proposed, or I'm not sure is that proposed or mandated, we settled on 0.5% towards our infrastructure deficit. I can't see this as getting any better. And after some extensive conversations with, don't want to reference familial conversations, but my brother's a research scientist at the University of Alberta and advises senior government in Alberta. He tells us that we're not starting to address our infrastructure problems for the impending climate variations that we're going to start to see. We're going to be in big problems. And the biggest problem, he says, is if you talk about heat, that's negligible because you can be addressing heat, we can fix heat. But the one that causes the damage is water. And we've started to see a little bit of that. His take on the climate models that we're looking at coming forward are that water is going to be our biggest issue here in this area. We're not going to be drying up. We're going to be collecting more and more of the water. And our infrastructure isn't capable of handling it. It really isn't. There are some possible remediations, but they're going to cost money, and we have to prepare and to be financially and fiscally responsible to the citizens. I think we have to look at those things before we start looking at what I would call glamour projects. I'm not trying to be unfair to anyone on this one, but I think that we have some really basic responsibilities that we better address, or we're going to be one of those councils that everybody looks back at and says, "What the hell were they thinking?"
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is basically there's a bigger picture, there's more things to discuss here other than that. The event center isn't not necessarily going away. It's gonna be part of the discussion with all of them, and I do agree there's things with the casino and the funds that come from that, when it happens, it should have happened, that there's really good examples, and I toured the one in Innisfil, which is completely paid for, double life service, everything else completely paid for by the revenues from the casino there. And there's a couple other ones too that have been used in the proper direction. So as you were saying, social infrastructure, the other infrastructure, and no, it's not mandated, like Councilor Grass, but it's something that we've all been aware of for some time, and AMO, and you will hear more on the AMO conference this year, is looking at other tools because property taxes can't sustain the infrastructure. It's impossible. Getting more and more complaints all the time. Right in council chambers, because they're in the front, because I'm sure the staff is putting up with the feedback from people that are paying their taxes, because I know I've been downstairs a couple times and in the grocery store when I've been told what people think. And so, I mean, there's a lot of tools and a lot of things that have to come into play. So, Councilor McMillan.
Well, I guess, just so that I understand, when we met talking about our capital projects, which was approximately a month ago, I'm not sure. The outcome of that meeting was that senior managers were going to go away and take those projects and look at them and prioritize them and debate them and discuss them as a team and bring them back to council for discussion. And that would be all the capital projects that were going to be prioritized. So what I'm hearing here now is, and I think we've expanded the discussion on the event center, is that nothing, or what some of our council are saying, and Councilor Roussin, which has been consistent in it, is that we shouldn't be discussing any capital projects until we get the asset management plan report in place. And at that time, all capital projects would be in the context of the asset management plan. But my hope would be that that would occur clearly before the March 7th, 2017 budget. And not that far away when we look at timing, if my understanding is correct. Because I don't wanna lose one, and there's no doubt about, I mean, I think it's pretty clear about, you know, what we support with respect to projects and looking at our infrastructure and whatever, so.
And Councilman.
I just wanna be
I know-
sure that I understand correctly.
Yeah, you're right, and we would have to, I think this fall, hopefully the screening gets done, is we're gonna have to sit down and make them decisions, because we don't want to be, putting tenders out in March. We wanna be putting tenders out in November, December, if at all possible, on whatever project, whether it's the event center, whether it's rebuilding a couple more bridges, whatever it's doing, we wanna be putting them tenders out. As we found out when we put the bridge tender out, it come in pretty reasonable, right about what the numbers were at about 2.5 million. If we'd have put that out in March, it would have been 5.5 million. I mean, it's just, we've all been through that, we know that experience, so. Karen?
I just wanted to clarify the reference to what the senior managers are doing. The takeaway from the meeting for the review with council was that senior managers would independently identify the city priorities based on administration's perspective and look at the top 10 or so projects and bring those back for discussion at council. So it's not necessarily the projects that were discussed at council, it's what administration has identified, and then council can have that discussion.
And that's what we asked for.
Yeah.
We asked for
Yeah,
their
I just
top
wanted
10,
to clarify that.
and then we'll put everything in and have that discussion. And at the same time, hopefully there's some more answers to come through on things like funding in the casino and stuff like that, so.
So would it be fair for me to say, what I'm hearing at this meeting is, we'll have that discussion with regards to the top 10, the senior managers are working to have that come forth for the August committee of the whole meeting for some discussion. Council will have the opportunity to attend AMO, and after those two items happen, council can determine if they feel ready to discuss the event center. Understanding the discussion can be contingent on funding, so we need to understand whether or not council supports it. What some of the things we're hearing is, I'm hearing today is, we need to understand that phase 2 asset management plan. So is the discussion perhaps after, in early 2017, not necessarily March, but once you have that phase 2 asset management plan? And I want to be abundantly clear on the phase 2 asset management plan. We're going to do our best to get that ready, but we are going to continue to refine the numbers. That will be a living document, it will be always subject to change, but it certainly will be our best efforts at getting that through to make sure we meet our legislative requirements for the end of December.
And just to sort of wrap it up, because we are getting way off here, but on part of that, and I believe is Lauren, is it today? Is she gone today or is it tomorrow?
She's today,
There's discussions taking place, like basically around the asset management plans and around the funding formulas of the OSIF and stuff, because of our input on where they were wrong, and to try and bring the rules into a set of rules that works for everybody, so everybody's using the same numbers when they calculate their assets and the cost, because they were, as we know from some comparisons, and we've used different types of means of ministers, that they were out of whack. They've understood that, and I know even in my last discussion with Minister Duguid, even though he's not Minister of Infrastructure anymore, was he understood, and they're gonna try and change that and correct that, which will have should have a positive impact on the city of Kenora. Should have, I'm not gonna say will. Made that mistake before. Okay, so we're.
so I think just to make sure we're clearly capturing council's direction, what I heard from a majority of the council members present was a need to at least understand our phase 2 infrastructure asset management plan requirements, as well as having a bit more clear direction on casino, which takes the conversation into early 2017. Is that a fair statement? Just want to make sure it's captured so that council's expectations aren't different than what I'm understanding. I just want to make sure we've clearly captured what council's direction is.
It doesn't matter, we're not having a discussion.
No.
So it's
Does
2017,
that-
we'll have discussion.
Does that include, you mentioned, Karen, that there's a target to bring stuff forward
So
for
the
this
10 priority
August
projects,
committee of the whole?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, resolution number 2. Next thing.
Resolution number 2, your worship, moved by myself, second by Councilor Goss. The council hereby approves the planned development of a municipal energy plan for the city of Kenora. and further that council hereby directs staff to determine interest in the community for participation on a committee to guide the project's development.
All in favor, council? Those in? With all this high water that Councilor Kerry and Councilor Josh talking about, I was thinking maybe we could put some turbines in the beaver dams. Resolution number 3.
Worship, moving myself, seconded by Councilor McMillan, the council supports the taxi driver licensing requirements that are contained in the current taxi license bylaw number 13-2013, and further that the requirements contained within this bylaw be continued as outlined, including provisions for vulnerable sector record search by all new applicants and renewal applications.
All in favor, council? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution number 4.
Your worship, moved by myself, second by Councilor McMillan. The council supports the closure of 2nd Street South between Main Street South and Matheson Street South on Saturday, September 3rd, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. for Show Us Your Queue event.
All in favor, council?
Comments, Mayor? When I looked at this, I have to commend our clerk, Heather, for the report she brought together. Those are all the questions that we should be asking when we're developing policy around this issue, and as Heather put in her report, it saves us from making it up as we go along. There are several things that concern me about the closure, that it was a private business, liability, insurance, risk, the traffic questions. I think those are all really good questions as we move forward with the policy. I would like to see, like I said before, this event monitored to see how many of the business actually do participate in it. Is it worthwhile closing the street down? Is it going to impact the community? So I think that as we build that policy, some of the questions have already been asked. Move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, then, council? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And it will be a good trial run to see how it
Yes.
goes. Resolution number 5.
Resolution number 5, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Raynard. The council hereby approves the reallocation of capital funding of $15,000 currently scheduled for the purchase of a first hydraulic vehicle extraction tool to capital funding for the replacement of PPP, replacement of bunker suits, and further that accordance with notice bylaw 144-2007, public notice is hereby given. The council intends to amend its 2016 operating and capital budget at its July 19, 2016 meeting to apply the Hearst hydraulic funds of $15,000 to the current amount of $20,000 for purchase of personal protective equipment and bunker suits for a total amount of $35,000, and further, the council gives 3 reasons to a bylaw to amend the 2016 budget for this purpose.
All in favor, council? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution number 6.
Resolution number 6, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor McMillan. The council hereby approves an additional allocation of $49,764.31 plus applicable taxes to be funded to the Fleet Equipment Reserve for the purchase and installment for replacement transmission for unit number 871 Volvo grader, and further that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144/2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to amend its 2016 operating and capital budget at its July 19, 2016 meeting to withdraw funds from the Fleet Reserve in the amount of $49,764.31 plus applicable taxes to offset the cost of this repair, and further that council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to amend the 2016 budget for this purpose.
All in favor? Council? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution number 7.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Raynard, that council hereby approves an additional allocation of $7,600 plus applicable taxes to be funded through the parquet reserve for the lifting of the approach precast concrete panel and base brick remediations, and further that in accordance with notice bylaw number 144-2007, public notice is hereby given that council intends to amend its 26 operating and capital budget at its July 19, 2016 meeting to withdraw funds from the parquet reserve in the amount of $7,600 plus applicable taxes to offset the cost of this repair, and further the council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to amend the 2016 budget for this purpose.
All in favor, council? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution number 8.
Resolution number 8, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith, that council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to delegate authority to the city planner and community development services manager to execute merger agreements on behalf of the city of Kenora, and further that bylaw numbers 116-2014, 70-2014, and 32-2016 be hereby repealed.
All in favor, council? Opposed, none? Motion carried. Resolution number 9. What is that one?
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, and I wish Councillor McMillan was going to read this.
Would you like me to?
Yeah. Whereas the Kenora Chiefs Advisory First Nation consists of 8 independent First Nations, and whereas the Kenora Chiefs Advisory are mandated by their First Nation members to carry out initiatives and processes in the best interest of the Anishinaabe, did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
And whereas the Kenora Chiefs Advisory Chiefs adhere to all inherent and treaty rights as identified in Treaty 3 agreement between the Crown and Right of Canada and the Anishinaabe Big of the Treaty 3 territory duly signed on October 3rd, 1873 at the northwest angle, and whereas the city of Kenora, town of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the Kenora District Service Board are providing local government to their communities. Kenora District Service Board is not a municipality, so there's a typo in here. And whereas the quality of health care at a level commensurate with other jurisdictions in Ontario is a top priority for both First Nation municipalities, and whereas the Lake of the Woods District Hospital is nearly 1 century old in some of its wings and is at the end of its economic life, and whereas recruitment and retention of physicians, nurse practitioners, other health service providers are essential to providing health services near home, and whereas access to nearby specialist care in Manitoba and local physician ability to refer patients to Manitoba specialists is critical to quality health care on a timely basis. And whereas Kenora physicians in the Lake of the Woods Hospital provide health service to over 25,000 seasonal residents and a growing number of tourists. And can we have a 10-minute coffee break now? Therefore be resolved, the Kenora Chiefs Advisory in the city of Kenora, the town of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the Kenora District Service Board agree to and support the following. We recognize that the Kenora Area Healthcare Working Group is the advisory body to our governments and will lead on certain key issues in the area of healthcare. All Nations Hospital is needed to replace the aging Lake of the Woods District Hospital. First Nations in the Kenora area need an integrated system of healthcare services from home to hospital, which reflects geography, access, and community needs. The Kenora Area Healthcare Working Group is leading a physician recruitment strategy supported by First Nations and communities. The Kenora Healthcare Working Group will support our political endeavors in working with Ontario to improve patient referrals by Kenora area physicians to Manitoba medical specialists and medical facilities. The Kenora Healthcare Working Group will work with local health physicians and healthcare institutions to address payment and anomalies in the Ontario payment system, which hinders establishment of if I got this focused correctly, hinders establishment of a walk-in clinic. The political leadership of Kenora Chiefs Advisory in the city of Kenora, town of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the Kenora District Board will seek meetings with the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care as well as the Minister of Indigenous Relations to advance the objectives we set out above. The political leadership of the Kenora Chiefs Advisory, the city of Kenora, town of Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls, and the Kenora District Service Boards recognize the need for an agreement with the province of Ontario to effect improvements as set out in the resolution above.
Councilor Miller.
Yeah, just a comment. Thanks to Councillor Rusin for reading out that long resolution, and Councillor Rusin's also a member of the Kenora Area Health Working Group. I think it's important to mention that it's just over a year ago that physicians and community members presented to our council on the concerns and needs of healthcare within our community and surrounding First Nations. And in my mind, progress has been made, although sometimes the wheels turn a bit slow. Progress has been made. The priorities do remain, and that is addressing recruitment, health professional recruitment, physician recruitment, and a significant one that the group is working consistently on is cross-border referrals to Manitoba to prevent people and having to go to Thunder Bay, London, Ottawa, Hamilton. And if I may just acknowledge Dr. Jilly Retson and her colleagues for leading the charge on this and continually meeting and keeping meetings going. The goal of the All Nations Hospital, the group recognizes that this is a long-range plan and do not see this happening overnight. But with that goal in mind, it provides the opportunity to access resources a lot closer to home that would bring in the specialist resources into our community to serve the surrounding communities and First Nations is to address the struggle that's being faced now with a lack of those resources. And the facility, and I think Councillor Rusin has mentioned this in the past, an upgraded facility with access to new modern technology and equipment and training is going to aid us significantly in attracting health professionals to our area and surrounding area. And what's also occurring is surrounding municipalities, as mentioned, Sioux Narrows, Nestor Falls is very much a part of this, and we're experiencing that other municipalities in the area also want to support this initiative because they too are faced with the dilemma of having to send residents from their communities to places farther east when access to Winnipeg or a better centered facility would aid the community significantly. So having said all that, I would really appreciate, as I'm sure fellow committee member Councillor Rusin would, the support of council and putting this forward, and ultimately it's our hope within the near future that the Minister of Health is going to come up here and sit with the community to aid us in addressing the issues and concerns. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. Councillor Smith and Councillor Rusin.
Mine is more just for point of clarification. So under all the whereases, they talk about the recruitment and retention of it's all health providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, health service providers. But then it says, like point number 4, they only talk about physician recruitment. Is that the priority of the committee now, or is it? I just didn't. Why do we refer to one in the whereases? But it says that's our sole priority is the physician recruitment.
Sure. I think it's a good question. The initial priority is for physicians, and then nurse practitioners. But I think the long-range goal is to look at the broader spectrum of the healthcare professionals in our community. But right now, the priority is healthcare, is physicians.
Right, thanks.
Yeah.
Can I elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. Okay.
The physician recruitment is one thing, and correct me if I get off track here, Councilor McMillan, but the physicians are our primary concern right now. Nurses are in great demand and they're being worked as well. The Ministry of Health has mandated another service to the Northwest Lynn, and physician and health personnel are to be the responsibility of the Northwest Lynn. And they've appointed and hired an individual, but his mandate is for recruiting physicians and other health practitioners. That's not new. That was a service and a responsibility that was to be provided by the Northwest Lynn previous to this, but they just appointed somebody officially. So that person is, in essence, is to be the one doing the physician recruitment. We don't know how long that'll take. That's why the urgency is on physicians. And the nurse practitioners, of course, will not be forgotten.
And of course, the Lynn has to deal with the whole area.
The Lynn has to deal with the whole area.
Councillor Smith, I'm sorry.
I forgot what I wanted to say. No, I haven't. 2 things, actually. I think it's not too early for us to start looking at what the city's financial obligation is going to be towards this hospital. If there's gonna be one, I suspect there is. What that will be, I know we can't say until we look at final cost what that's gonna be. I would assume it's gonna be a huge capital cost to the municipality. So I don't think it's too soon to figure out or to start looking at what that obligation is going to be for us as we move forward with looking at other capital projects. Like Councilman McMillan said, this isn't gonna happen overnight, but it's gonna require some long-term planning. So I think it's important that we figure out financially how that's going to impact us. And my second point is that I believe that Dr. Kit from the Northwestern Health Unit is on the Kenora. So, and that is a good thing, because public health has a role to play in the health of our communities and surrounding nations. And I'm going to go back again to what alcohol costs us, not only economically and financially in our community, but health-wise. Alcohol is the second leading cause of death and disease in Canada, and it is a huge cost to our community health-wise and our surrounding communities. And until we start dealing with that and looking at ways that we can mitigate that health concern and the financial concern that it brings to all of our communities, I think that we have to deal with that as we're moving forward with the healthcare team and looking at health issues in our community. So let's not forget public health, the leading cause of death, what we're going to do to deal with that. Because I think that healthcare and the lack of healthcare is not the issue. Alcohol is the problem, and we need to be looking at that.
Okay, all in favor, Council? Opposed?
I just have one more comment I'd like to make on this. On the sixth whereas, the first one on page 2, it refers to nearly 1 century old hospital in some of the wings. And from what I have, the information I've gathered and what I'm being told is when the Ministry of Health decides on where hospitals are to be built, they don't look at chronological age, they look at effective age. And the effective age is also a reflection of the repairs and maintenance programs that exist in the hospital and whether it's been effective or not, and whether it is being repaired and maintained according to certain specifications. So someone is going to have to, and I don't think it may fall under the Kenora area health care working group. Did I miss a word there? To be cognizant of that fact. I would not like to see, and I don't think it'd be wise for us to put a lot of concentration on a new hospital where we may run into some issues that may prevent some of the other major concerns, which is the cross-border to Manitoba, funding, and recruitment of specialists coming to Kenora. So, and also the other thing is the Ministry of Health through the Northwest LHIN, I believe, have already committed a major renovation to the hospital. We should be starting to question that renovations because I don't think it's the right direction that we should be going. The renovations have to take place, those will be short term, but I don't think they're doing the renovations or the upgrades to the operating room and a few other departments correctly. They're not using their facility space to the best advantage.
Okay, we'll move on to number 10. We're getting a little too deep into the woods. Resolution number 10.
Well, not necessarily too deep, but if we're gonna deal with facts, make sure we have all the facts on the table. And I like to be able to deal with what could be an obstacle in obstructing the direction that we want to go.
I'm just saying this for another discussion. Number 10.
Your worship, moved by myself, second by Councilor McMillan, The council hereby authorizes the issuance of tax receipts for any donation of $100 or greater made payable to the city of Kenora from July 19, 2016 to September 1, 2017, unless otherwise specified, to be used specifically towards construction of the Anishinaabe stage. And before we vote on this, this didn't come to committee of the whole, so I've got some questions on this. In October 2015, council authorized the mayor and clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding. The attachment that was provided to us doesn't show any signatures. Was the memorandum ever signed?
Yes, I believe it was, that's my understanding, without having it here in front of me, and the project did move forward for the construction of the base. I'm assuming that's what that memorandum refers to, for the stage.
In the memorandum, it states clearly that the stage will be completed by May 1st, 2016, which has not transpired, so do we require a new memorandum of understanding?
That's a good question, and I will find out that answer.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of the resolution number 10? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 11.
Resolution number 11, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Raynard. The council gives 3 readings to a bylaw to appoint Devin McCloskey as the city planner effective June 1, 2016. And further that bylaw 32, 2001 and 103-2002 be hereby repealed.
All in favor, council? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 12.
Resolution number 12, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McMillan. That council hereby authorize the waiving of fees for the White Cat Pavilion rental in the amount of $420 for a benefit concert being held on August 27th, 2016, where all proceeds raised at the event will be donated to the emergency shelter. And further, that council authorize a donation from council discretionary donations. And further to that, Mayor Dave, I know that Nietzsche Fellowship Center or Friendship Center is doing some active fundraising to help support the emergency shelter, so I'm hoping the community will get behind that.
Thank you. All in favor, council? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 13.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Roussin, that the council of the city of Kenora hereby authorizes the issuance of tax receipts for any donation of $100 or greater made to the city of Kenora between January 1st, 2016 and August 31st, 2016 to be used specifically towards the 2016 25th anniversary Harborfest fireworks display. And further, that the city will pay the invoices for the actual purchase of fireworks, including any specially related expenditures, direct to the appropriate suppliers for the 2016 fireworks display to a maximum of the actual donation amounts received. And further, that the issuance of tax receipts for donations for fireworks be restricted specifically to the 2016 fireworks display in recognition of the tourism impact the event has to the city of Kenora.
All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 14.
Resolution number 14, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smith. The council of the city of Kenora hereby approves proceeding with the window replacement project at the Municipal Heritage Designated City Facility, City Hall, as reviewed and approved by the City of Kenora Heritage Committee and is applied for with an alteration request application to the Ontario Heritage Trust. And once all approvals are obtained, that the project proceeds to tender and construction.
All in favor, council? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 15.
Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, the council of the city of Kenora hereby approves proceeding with the envelope repairs at the Municipal Heritage Designated City Facility Museum Annex as reviewed and approved by the City of Kenora Heritage Committee, and once all approvals are obtained, that the project proceed to tenders and construction.
All in favor, council? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Resolution number 16.
That's you, Dan.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan. The council hereby adopts the following minutes from various City of Kenora committees. June 1, Kenora Public Library Board. June 15, Heritage Kenora Committee. June 23rd, Lake of the Woods Museum Board. And the council hereby receives the following minutes from other various committees. May 5th, District of Kenora Home for the Aged Board of Management. May 19th, Kenora District Services Board. May 31st, Northwestern Health Unit Board of Health, and further that these minutes be circulated and ordered filed.
All in favor, council? Opposed, motion carried. Resolution number 17.
Resolution number 17, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Raynard. The council of the city of Kenora hereby accepts the May 2016 Kenora Water and Wastewater Systems Monthly Summary Report as prepared by city administration.
All in favor, council? Opposed, motion carried. Number 18.
Resolution number 18, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Rayner. The council hereby accepts the 2016 second quarterly summary report from the Kenora Fire and Emergency Services Department for the period of April 1st to June 30th, 2016.
All in favor, council? Opposed, motion carried. Resolution number 19.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Roussin, whereas the above municipalities have seen significant increases in emergency medical assistance calls and are asking for support in their efforts to solicit the Ontario government for financial assistance to offset the rising operating costs for their fire department. And whereas in the city of Kenora Fire and Emergency Services, as part of their core services, provides medical emergency response through an agreement with the Kenora District Services Board. And whereas these core services include medical acts such as
Defibrillation.
thank you. Standard, I hope I never need it. Standard first aid and CPR when ambulances are delayed or unavailable for deployment. And whereas the CKFDS in 2014, 11% of calls were medical emergencies. In 2015, 12% of calls were medical emergencies. And to date, in 2016, 10% of calls have been medical emergencies. And whereas the city of Kenora provides this service at no cost to the Kenora District Services Board, including wages and overtime, and whereas this service is provided by the Kenora District Services Board in lieu of calling in additional ambulance staff, therefore be it resolved that the city of Kenora respectfully requests that Dr. Eric Hoskins, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care, provide financial support to the city of Kenora to offset the operating costs for responding to medical calls. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Kathleen Wynne, Premier of Ontario, Bob Nault, MP Kenora, Sarah Campbell, MPP, and Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association. And just two minor points, it might be good to add a CC to Grand Council Treaty 3 just because of the First Nations emergency responses that are there. And secondly, it would be great if Minister Hoskins came here, because that agenda for discussion items is growing.
He's going to.
Nice.
And we will see him shortly. All in favor, council? Opposed, motion carried. Number 20.
Resolution number 20, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Goss, that the tender from Jonah Niskin Sons for the supply, delivery, and stockpile of approximately 9,200 tons of screened winter sand be received, and further that the tender received from Jonah Niskin and Sons in the amount of $18 per ton HST extra be hereby accepted. Seems interesting we're talking about winter sand now. We got a heat wave happening.
Well, they've been promising it for a month, so it's not tomorrow yet.
More rain.
Councilor Roussin?
I have, I'd like to get an explanation or I have a concern here. It seems like we only had one person submit a tender for this. And with all of the different contractors that we have in town, I'm starting to find it odd that we don't get a lot of people submitting tenders.
If I
Is
could.
there a logical answer?
Yeah, partially, usually we get two, the other time we've had three. There's usually only two. Jonah Niskin and Son is generally every year, and they're generally the cheapest tender. And I can tell you from talking to some of the contractors that they're really so busy that he's been doing it, so he's set up for it. And that's one of the reasons, and it's just not worth it for a lot of them to bother themselves. I know, I wanna thank MCL for coming to the rescue out here. They're busy, they're real busy, and they're all busy. So, unfortunately, it would be nice to get about 5 tenders, but we generally only get 2 or 3 on this one. I think from all that I can, would have been a slow year, maybe sometime way back. and then somebody has to get set up. If you're not doing that on a regular basis as a contractor, you're probably not. And if you don't have your own pit, you're not gonna be able to compete anyways. It would be nice to see more. All in favor? Those in favor? Motion's carried. Resolution number 21.
Worship, move it myself, seconded by Councilor McMillan, who will have to sign it, that the following bylaws be now read in first and second time and approved in their present form and presented for third and final reading. 82-2016, confirm the proceedings of council. 83-2016, budget amendment, bunker gear and PPE. 84-2016, budget amendment, grader 871 repairs. 85-2016, budget amendment, parkade repairs. 86-2016, delegation of authority, merger agreements. 87-2016, city planner appointment.
All in favor, please? Opposed, nay? Motion's carried. Does he have to sign the next one?
I don't know, that's my last
Resolution
one.
number 22.
Thanks, Louis.
Your worship, moved by myself, second by Councilor Goss, that pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, authorization is hereby given for council to move into a closed session at 1:01 PM to discuss items pertaining to the following. One, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, one matter. Education and training members of council, two matters.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I was looking at, I thought 23 was the last one. We'll hold off on this.
He's reading
We have-
22, I've got 23.
Yeah, but 22 is closed session. We haven't done announcements yet.
Right.
Not from clerk. I'm looking at 2 resolutions left and not thinking, summer, the heat wave is coming. Okay, sorry, council. Okay, announcements, there's no proclamation. Start with Councilor Woosten, anything to? Councilor Watt's case.
No, it's just great to be back. I want to thank everybody who has sent us cards and so on, and thank the citizens for all that stuff, and the council as well.
It's great to have you back. Councilor Miller,
No, I'm good.
And the girls really have food.
right on. Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. On Monday, we all paid the second installments of our tax bill, unhappily. Yeah. So I'm not sure if this handout was sent out with all the tax bills, but I think I pulled it maybe off the website. I can't quite remember, but it talks about how your taxes are used within the community. And I just want to point out, when I look at this, the first thing on the list is protection. And this is on an average residential tax bill of $2,300 a year. We know that there are people that pay double and triple that amount in this community. So for protection, which is fire and emergency services and OPP services, that's $742 per household that pays just over $2,000 in taxes. So using some information that we've been looking at recently, and it says in this handout that a quarter is for fire and emergency service, and 3/4 for OPP services. So we know that our OPP costs are the highest thing that taxpayers are paying for in our community. If, as in the Chief Superintendent, Inspector Lucas says is correct, I've just done some quick calculations here now, and somebody can check my math. So at 3/4 of that, the protection costs, $557 would be going to the OPP. If 98% of those costs are related to alcohol and abuse and addiction in our community, that's $545 of OPP costs that are related to alcohol in our community. Then we go down and we look at some other things on this list. For transportation, we talk about our infrastructure, spending on our infrastructure deficit and the things we need to do. That average household at just over $2,000 pays $371 of the tax bill just to go to their infrastructure. It is far less than what we're paying for the cost of alcohol abuse in our community. When we talk about the event center, and the social infrastructure in our community. We look at this tax bill, and that portion of that average tax bill is $325, way less than what we spend for alcohol abuse and addiction in this community. It really is time to start questioning why taxpayers are paying, property taxpayers are paying that kind of money to the detriment of all the other services that taxpayers want to see in our community. I have already had several calls from people regarding their taxes, how they're spent, that we pay too much in this community, and I agree. It's time to look at where those costs are being paid for, and that we need to be starting to lobby the provincial government and to say those revenues need to be coming back into our community from the alcohol sales, because the property taxpayers are losing other services in this community because of that. So I just want to keep reminding people, we need to have that conversation over and over again and start asking, is this fair? I think it is not.
Councilor Goss?
I'm going to remain uncharacteristically quiet today.
Councilor Goss? Councilor Nice.
Well done.
Okay, just, we got a real busy time coming up, and we got Harbor Fest, we got KBI, we got Lewis, we got all the things that are coming up, and you know, the White Cap, is gonna be real busy. Going down the last few Wednesdays, I usually try and take a little walkabout there on Market Wednesday. And I gotta say, talking to the vendors, talking to the people down there, of course, one of the vendors is a counselor from the Rainy River District, and always corners me. And but I'm telling you, the feedback down there is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they love the venue, they love the market, the people in there, it's outstanding. There's a tremendous amount of artisans in there there's a lot of talent around it, and it really, you know, it's really heartwarming when people talk about, wow, you got the most fantastic venue anywhere in Northwestern Ontario, if not across the country. And so it's very popular. In the next few weeks, it will be really busy, a lot of fun things happening, and hopefully everybody can get out and enjoy them. Just one more thing, because the price of gas is under $1 in Winnipeg, and it's $1.69 here. So instead of do a rant and call down the oil companies, I'm gonna be very nice. And I'm just gonna ask them in their better judgment, as great corporate citizens, that they reduce the price of gas to reflect the $45 a barrel, as opposed to charging us $1.69 when it's under $1 in Winnipeg. Should be at $1, should be 10 cents difference, or 11 cents in the tax. So to the oil companies, please be great corporate citizens, bring the price of gas down for our work logs. That one can go to 22.
Can we read it? Alrighty. Your worship, moved by myself, second by Councilor Goss, that pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended, authorization is hereby given for council to move a closed session at 1:08 p.m. to discuss items pertaining to the following. 1, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. 1 matter, education and training of council. 2 matters.
All in favor, council? Opposed, nay? Motion's carried.
Resolution number 23, your worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McMillan, that this meeting be now declared closed at 4:14 p.m.